I read it.
Good evening. It being 5 o'clock, I'll call this regular council meeting to order. We'll begin, as we always do, with a territorial acknowledgement. We respect and truly acknowledge that we are on Treaty 3 territory, the traditional land of the Anishinaabe and the Métis Nation. We give gratitude and honor to the ancestors, elders, and all Anishinaabe and Métis people for sharing their resources and knowledge. Councillors, any disclosure of pecuniary interest, and if so, state the general nature thereof? Seeing none. We'll move to delegations and deputations. 4.1, we have a delegation on road conditions of North McCurvin Road and Frock Creek Road West by R. Paxson. Come on up. No, we need you to speak into the mic so that it can be picked up for people at home. Sorry about that. It's just you saying whatever you'd like to say in your 10 minutes.
Oh, 10 minutes? Okay. Yeah, my problem is the lack of effort put into fixing up the end of McCurvin Road, because they lifted the pavement up at the end of May and left it abandoned, then put a bunch of gravel on it that acts like marbles. And the scenario for me is I'm coming here and sit, oddly enough, to pay my taxes, and there's a dump truck coming toward me, and so I pull over because he's not giving any quarter. I get in the loose marbles and the rear end of my truck's going. I said, that's it, because it's the second time. And this is always the case here. I've had friends come up from Thunder Bay on motorcycles. They're scared to come down that road. So anyway, if there is an answer to this, we've phoned several times about even dust suppression. None. And it's still not happening. They graded it, now the dust is even worse. They graded it on Friday. So, if there's any answers to what's going on, if you're doing a kitchen floor, do you rip the floor up and wait 4 months to put the new one down? I don't think so. So I don't get this. Why do you do that? The road wasn't really that bad to begin with compared to the rest of the roads in town. I just don't get it. And if you're going to fix that part of the road, maybe you could finish off the end of Frog Creek Road. It's in town, because that was Doug Brown's folly. He left 300 meters left to do. And the town sends out a grader 10 to 15 times a year, stirs it all up. The dust is back now. And instead of doing that, why don't you just finish it off? You got all the party in town to fix from the landfill to the bridge. There's people that can't even go in their yard. With the dust, it's that bad, It is bad. Do anybody go out there? It's a sad state when you got people come to Fort Francis. You got a little sign there that says, loose gravel, drive slowly. It should say, buckle up and hang on, because it's scary. It really is. It is. So if you go out there, I'm not kidding you. It's horrible. And if you really want to do something to save Frog Creek, put west on the end of the sign. That's another. I didn't put it on my note there. But, and I asked Alicia about the protocol for damaged vehicles. And it was insurance company to insurance company. Well, in truth, nobody wants to go to their insurance company with a chip in their car. So I guess we just have to eat that stuff, eh? True? Is there anybody here to answer the question about the road?
No action will be taken on anything this evening. You're simply here to present.
Yeah.
We're taking notes, and we'll get back to you.
Oh, yeah? How? How are you going to get back to me?
There'll be a reply to you from administration.
Oh, yeah? Email?
I'm not sure. We'll deal with that.
Okay.
Just wait a minute. People might have questions for you. Councilors, do you have any questions for Mr. Paxton?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay. Thank you very, very much for your presentation. And
I was kind of hoping I'd get some answers here, but I guess not.
no, protocol dictates that, and that should have been explained to you, that no action is ever taken at a delegation, but there will be as a response to you afterwards.
Okay. Who's responsible?
I'm sorry?
Who's responsible for it?
It will go to our administration through our clerks.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't realize that. It's hard enough getting an audience with you, to tell you the truth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Paxton.
Okay, good. Thanks a lot.
Okay, moving on. Item 5, presentations. We have the Fort Frances Museum and Cultural Advisory Committee. Come on up.
Hey, it's on. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, welcome, Paxton. It's good to see you again.
Thank you. It's good to see you guys. So good evening, Mayor and members of Council. My name is Paxton Hughes, the first ever youth member of the Fort Frances Museum and Cultural Center Advisory Committee. Also in attendance tonight, we have Christine and Holly, a few of our committee members, and we have Sarah joining us online. Tonight, I'll be sharing a brief annual report on the committee's activities from May 2025 to today. In addition to my remarks, we've provided a one-page synopsis of highlights and focus areas for the last few months of our remaining term. My experience as a youth member has been a great opportunity to learn more about our local history, the work of the museum, and the important role the advisory committee plays in supporting its success. Over the past year, the committee has remained active despite some changes in membership and museum staffing. We are grateful to previous committee members who have volunteered their time, knowledge, and passion. We also appreciate the town's continued efforts to recruit new committee members. The advisory committee met regularly to support the museum in a variety of ways. We reviewed draft policies and reviewed curator-recommended deaccessions from the collection, discussed future capital projects, fundraising opportunities, partnerships, memberships, and ways to strengthen volunteer recruitment and retention. We also met with the town's new community services and facilities manager and continue to support initiatives that help the museum grow and serve our community. Looking ahead, our priorities for the next few months of our term include fulfilling Community Museum Operating Grant (CMOG) requirements by gathering a total of 9 times in the calendar year, providing continued feedback to the curator on the updated collections policy, supporting volunteer recruitment, and advocating for the finalization of replacing the museum's HVAC system. I'd also like to thank Sarah for typing up this and the one-page synopsis for the report tonight. And for my final remark, as the youth member on the committee, I've enjoyed contributing a younger perspective while learning from the experience and knowledge of the other committee members and museum staff. I look forward to continuing to support the museum and helping encourage more young people to learn about our town's history. Thank you.
Councilors, any question for Paxton or the museum members? Councilor McTaggart.
Thank you, Paxton. Great presentation. And good to see you here doing it. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. How are you doing on volunteer recruitment? Are you making any progress?
I believe we've gotten a few new members within the last couple months. One of us is joining us, Holly. She came to the committee in the last 2-3 months, I believe. 3-4 months, yeah. So I think we're making a good progress, but we can always get more members and community people involved.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anyone else? I would just like to add my thanks to the museum committee. It's especially delightful having our youth member Paxton here. That's a first, so that's really great. And thanks very much to Christine, Holly, and Sarah for all of the great work that you're doing over there. We really appreciate it. You folks are doing a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 6.1, we have some correspondence from Mr. Krinky Turvey. It's a signage request. I'd like to put an oral resolution on the floor that Council direct administration to bring a report to a September meeting of Council on the request for signage approval. Could I get a mover and seconder on that? Councillor Morrison and Councillor Firth. Any discussion? Call question. All in favor, councillors? That's carried. Anyone opposed? Still carried. Okay, I'll quickly go through my report. As always, it's typed, so I can skim through, but I do want to spend some time giving shout-outs. We have a lot of really good things going in town. Councillor Mackey?
Before you get started, Your Worship, you commented that we'd be meeting in September, but I thought that it's after tonight. There's a lame duck to the election.
No, we have 2 meetings in September, I believe, and no meetings in October and 1 meeting in November. Correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Clerk.
I thought with the lame duck that council meeting ceased from.
No, I'll let the clerk answer that. Go ahead.
Through the chair, there are some powers that are restricted during lame duck policy. However, that correspondence and request would not be restricted. So meetings can still commence. There are just certain actions that council's unable to do during that time.
Yeah, most of the lame duck stuff refers to excessive spending. Okay. Yeah, there's a number of wonderful things going on in town by wonderful organizations, as always. The first shout I want to give out is to the Fort Frances Museum. We just had a great presentation here by some of the folks at the museum, but they currently have a really good exhibition on display of local artists. And if you haven't had a chance to get down to the museum to see some of the artwork by our local artists, it's really, really good. So I encourage you to do that. I had a meeting with Jason Veltri, the NOMA director. I've been working closely with NOMA on the whole issue of immigration workers. NOMA and the town of Fort Frances and the Rainy River District are having a bit of a difference of opinion with the province on how to proceed. And to that end, NOMA got a meeting with the Minister of Labor. And the meeting went quite well. One of the things that we made clear to the Minister of Labor was the province really needs to stop treating Northwestern Ontario, or pardon me, needs to stop treating Ontario, because it's so large and vast, as a single labor market. Northwestern Ontario is a high demand region for employment, and it has unique labor shortages and economic opportunities. So we made that point with the Minister of Labor. We also got some support for the READY pilot proposals. Councillors may remember the last time some of these pilot projects came out, all of the slots were given to Thunder Bay, and the Rainy River District got none. So Confederation College, the local DSAB, has been working with NOMA to make sure that the next intake includes the Rainy River District. And also, we were encouraged to hear that the province is interested in identifying more permanent immigration pathways. So the immigrant workers that we need so very dearly here in our town and in the district can find a path to permanent residency. So there's lots going on there. And I mentioned that because this is an issue that the next council really needs to take on and carry forward. I spend a large amount of time speaking with local businesses and listening to their frustrations in that they cannot get workers and how it interferes with their running of their business. And so we need to keep this on the front burner, both with the province and with the feds. Another shout out I want to give out is to a local playwright, Robin Wright. We're very fortunate to have someone like Robert Wright in our community who is writing original plays that are performed all over, but he premieres them here in Fort Francis. And so one of his new plays called Shelter in Place was premiered recently. And as part of the shout out, I want to give a shout out to our deputy clerk, Allie here, who had a leading role in that play and did an absolutely fantastic job in her role. I'll just mention, Robin puts on several what he calls preliminary readings. So it's a read through by actors of the play for the first time. And he does it usually at local venues. So watch for some of those. They're really quite good. The local DSAB, as you know, is undertaking a housing project, which we desperately need at the site of the St. Michael's School. This would be a housing project to provide housing for young families, for workers. We get people hired for positions in Fort Francis, and they have a desperate time finding housing. So the DSAB is looking to build mixed housing on the site of the St. Michael's School and are looking for funding. Towards that end, they've asked for a letter of support and asking our member of provincial parliament, Minister Bickford, to support this. And as usual, he's very, very gracious and has agreed on behalf of the DSAB to be their champion with the provincial government. I've had many, many meetings concerning forest fires. The urgency has died off somewhat, but it was touching to see the number of organizations and groups that were concerned about Fort Francis. Toward that end, the Northwestern Health Unit, CAO, called, wanted to know how we were doing in terms of smoke. So we had a really good conversation with her. Our member of federal parliament, Marcus Pulowski, called to see if Fort Francis needed anything. The MNR has been holding weekly briefings. So I attend a weekly briefing every Thursday, and I have the slides from all of those if councilors want to have a look at those. When we were in the worst of the fire situation, we had a roundtable meeting with Minister Harris of the MNR. He was on Thunder Bay. The Premier of Ontario also traveled to Thunder Bay at that time and discussed what was going on and also pledged to keep us informed, and to his credit, he has. I want to give a really big shout out to Councillor Morrison and Wichitawan, and I'm sure you'll speak about this the next time you have a turn, but Wichitawan is doing some absolutely amazing things in our community for the entire community. And to that end, recently they had Children's Days at the Point, which was 2 days of activities. Wichitawan does this every year, but this year they collaborated with about 10 other organizations, and it was a massive event with all sorts of bouncy castles. They had a bull riding thing. They had volleyball, canoeing, baseball. Food was there, drinks were there for everybody. It was a really, really good event and well attended, sunny day, a real carnival atmosphere. It was great to see. And then following one of those days, they provided a supper up at the Point as well as a concert. Anyone who wanted to attend. I was privileged to attend with my wife. I want to give a shout out also to the band Dark Horse. Great repertoire, great music. If you ever get a chance to hear Dark Horse, you should go. But again, the supper was provided, drinks were provided, dessert was provided for everyone. And we need more of those things in Fort Francis. Still talking about Wichitawan. Then, as if that wasn't enough, they sponsored a powwow for children up at the Nanticoke Center. Again, they had a number of drums there. There was some great regalia. There was refreshments, great rumming. I want to give a shout out to our clerks and our Indigenous intern who also attended that particular powwow. It was good to see town employees out there. A shout out to GM Fort Francis for their recent show and shine. If you got out to that, it was a very nostalgic journey to automobiles of yore. I saw a lot of automobiles that I absolutely loved and still love to this day from the 60s and the 70s. I can remember when some of those actual cars were bought and driven up and down Scott Street and showing off on the parking lot of the old Safeway, which is where the Northwestern Health Unit is right now. It was a great activity, and kudos to GM Fort Francis for sponsoring it and providing a free barbecue and activities for children. Another shout out to the Kiwanis Club for the wonderful activities that they do. Most recently, they had a great barbecue in honor of one of our most revered citizens, Dr. Bob Lidke. It was a pleasure to attend that and see so many people from the community out for that as well. I'm just going to skip over this, but I encourage people to make sure you're reading my reports on the Fort Francis Power Corporation. It ties in directly to a really important agenda item tonight. There's a lot of activity going on with the Fort Francis Power Corporation because there are so many potential economic developments that relate to power about to be developed in Fort Francis. The Fort Francis Power Corporation needs to revamp its entire system, to modernize it, to get a new transformer, to put in 44 kilovolt lines. And that ties directly to a very, very important agenda item tonight. So there's so much to know. There's so much technical stuff in the background that the council needs to start educating themselves on what's happening with these items. One last shout out. I'd like to compliment the Be the Voice Coalition, which is a coalition against human trafficking. And yes, unfortunately, we have human trafficking here in Fort Francis. We have human traffickers here in Fort Francis. The Be the Voice Coalition held, I would say, an education day against human trafficking out at Nanacost. It was a really good event with many of the dozen member organizations having information there and presenting. They had booths, and we had the whole day done properly. It was done in a good way with ceremony and drumming and an elder. And then the last thing I'll mention, it's something I haven't spoken on before. Councilors might not even be aware of this, but the parole office now has moved into where the OPP used to be. And they've been down a number of members. And so recently they've got their parole officers up to the full amount that they're allowed, which is the first time that's happened in a long time. I was asked to come over and welcome the new parole officers to Fort Francis. There's one who's here from Moosonee, one from Barrie, and the other one from the GTA. So it was kind of interesting to go over there because I haven't been over there since the OPP left, and get a tour of the building and say hello and welcome the new parole officers. And with that, I'll stop. But I will encourage councilors to make sure that you're reading up on the activities of the Fort Francis Power Corporation. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. 8.2, our council meeting minutes. And the recommendation reads that the council approve the following council meeting minutes as presented: the regular meeting minutes of July 13th, 2026, and the public meeting minutes of July 30th, 2026. 8.3 are boards and committee meeting minutes, and the recommendation reads that the following boards and committee meeting minutes be received as information. There's 3 of them. Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes of April 15th, 2026, the Sister Betty Kennedy Sister Advisory Committee meeting minutes of May 11th of 2026, and the Downtown BIA meeting minutes of June 17th, 2026. And then finally, 8.4, the recommendation reads that Council of the Town of Fort Francis approve report number AR-26-1133 to authorize the Connecting Links program, Intake 11 contribution agreement for the detailed design works for the reconstruction of Scott Street between Armid Avenue and Victoria Avenue, and that a bylaw be prepared authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute the agreement on behalf of the corporation, and that Cody Vangel, transportation superintendent, be authorized to approve the agreement electronically in the Transfer Payment Ontario user portal. I'll put this recommendation on the floor that council approve the consent agenda as follows. Items 8.2, 8.3, 8.4. Councilors, would you like to pull any of those? Seeing none, can I get a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Firth and Councillor Mackey. Calling the question, all in favor? It's carried, no one was opposed. Okay, moving on to item number 9. This deals with Administration and Finance Division reports, and I'll put a resolution on the floor for 9.1. Recommendation reads that council receive the attached financial statements and report AR-26-1141 for the general water and sewer fund for the period ending July 30th, 2026 as information. Could I get a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Firth, Councillor McTaggart. Okay, councillors, any questions or comments on this summary? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? It's carried. No one was opposed. Thank you. Moving on to 9.2. Recommendation I'll put on the floor reads, the council appoint the Chief Administrative Officer as acting fire chief effective August 29, 2026 on a temporary basis until administration completes the recruitment and appointment of either an interim fire chief or a permanent fire chief, and that a bylaw come forward this same meeting of council to be signed by the mayor and clerk confirming the appointment, and that bylaw 68-25 be hereby repealed. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Bien, Councillor Brunetta. Sorry, Councillor. Mental blank there. Okay, councillors, any discussions or questions? Councillor McTaggart.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm disappointed that we're going back to this. I understand why we have to, but I'm going to ask administration, what is the plan going forward? How long do we expect to have this in place? And how quickly can we have a permanent or interim fire chief in place?
Okay, I believe we have HR Manager Sexton on the line. Go ahead, HR Manager.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through the chair, we are in the process of the recruitment process. We were hoping that it would have been bedded down by now, but unfortunately, you can plan a perfect picnic, but you can't control the weather. But we are hopeful that in the next coming weeks, this will be finalized.
Thank you for that. Follow up, or are you good, Councillor McTaggart? Councillor Mackey?
Thank you, Your Worship, to the HR, Mia Sexton. Then if you can explain what crashed and burned in regards to the negotiations and offer to Mr. Riches, that didn't actually come to fruition. Why is that?
Thank you, through the chair.
Just a moment. I just want to confer with the clerk.
Through the chair, that would fall under reasons to go into closed session. It falls under personnel matters. Thank you.
So if you want to discuss that, we have to go into closed session.
I'd like to take it to closed session and for further discussion, please.
Okay, I'll go back to the clerk. We're going to have to announce it, and we'll have to be at the next meeting. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Through the chair, we are able to go into closed session for meetings. There's nothing opposing us for procedural, but best practice for public transparency is to do public notice, putting it on an agenda. My recommendation would be to make an oral motion to have a report for the next council meeting that would fall under closed.
Would you be okay with that, Councillor Mackey?
Well, thank you, Your Worship. My concern is that the next meeting's in September and the interim fire chief period ends the end of August. The exact date, I'm not sure. And so I'm not prepared to say yes to putting the CAO into an interim fire chief position at this point. So I guess there's the crux of the matter. It's going to get delayed when this is something that needs to be decided shortly here for the benefit of the entire fire department and our town. Thank you.
We can still decide it this evening, and we can still have a report brought forward at a further meeting. You're right. We won't have a fire chief at the end of this term. We need one. We've had this person in the position in the past. HR is in the process of acquiring a new one. But any discussion about negotiations is confidential and does have to be in camera. So, well, I'll just poll council and see if you want to vote on this now. So do you want to vote on this now? I'm getting yes from council. Anyone else want to speak before we vote? Okay, I'll call the question then. All in favor? In favor of the resolution that's on the floor? All in favor? Resolution carries. Anyone want that recorded? Okay. However, we can, if you wish, still have an in-camera meeting so that you can have your question answered.
Thank you. Yes, most definitely.
Okay, so we'll instruct the clerk to set that up. So would you make a resolution? So a resolution that we have a report brought to the next meeting of council to be held in camera to discuss, I guess, the conditions surrounding this issue. Okay, seconder on that, please. Councilor Firth, any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. We're just letting the clerks catch up. Okay. Moving on to item 10, Community Service Division reports. There are none. Moving to item 11, Planning and Development Division reports. 11.1. This is the community plan policy that we held a public meeting on not too long ago, and the resolution that I'll put on the floor reads, the council received report AR-26-1143 and agree with the recommendation of administration to amend the Town of Fort Frances official plan, and that an amending bylaw be brought forward at a subsequent council meeting to adopt these revisions. Could I get a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Firth and Councillor McTaggart. Any discussion, councillors? Councillor McTaggart.
Thank you, Worship, through you to Mr. Burrows. So my understanding of this is that the plan is for the entire town, and where it was a little more restrictive in the last CIP.
Manager Burrows.
Thank you, and through the chair. Yes, so the reason why we need to amend our official plan at this time is as we renewed our official plan, we kept similar verbiage from the original official plan back in 2011, which prescribed Brownsfield sites in the downtown area as CIP areas. Now, we didn't want to change that with the new official plan because we knew we were going to be renewing our CIP and we knew we would have to have this official plan amendment. But this official plan amendment serves to permit us designating the entirety of the town as well as specific project areas through the CIP. So it enables us to select and choose these project areas as we are developing the CIP.
Follow up?
So it's just a greater advantage to us to be able to have that tool available throughout the whole community.
Thank you,
Go ahead.
and through
Yep.
the chair again. Yes, so establishing the entire town means that we can develop financial incentive programs at all properties in town. But the way that we have it phrased in our official plan revision would also permit specific site or specific project areas for economic needs as they arise.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Any further questions or comments? Calling the question, then all in favor? It's carried. No one was opposed. Okay, that brings us to, thank you, item 12 on the agenda, which is Operation and Facilities Division reports. And I'll put a resolution on the floor that reads, 12.1, that council approval of report AR-26-1139 will agree with the recommendation of administration to award tender 2026-OF-07 to George Armstrong Company for a tender price of $1,109,600 plus applicable HST, and that a bylaw be prepared authorizing mayor and clerk to execute the agreement on behalf of the corporation, and that bylaw 47-26 being a bylaw to award tender 2026-OF-07 to Allen Equipment be repealed. Could I get a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Mackey and Councillor Bernetta. Okay, councillors, questions, comments? Councillor Firth? Oh, Councillor Mackey?
Thank you, Worship. I'm looking about halfway down on this, and it talks about alternatively, council can choose to direct administration to target specific areas, not the entire project, to reduce costs. And I think I would like to subscribe to that if there's more information that can be passed on to all of council.
Did you want to, was there a question on that? Did you want Manager Rob to address that? Okay, Manager Rob.
Thank you, through the chair. So, I mean, the entirety of the work is contained from, is basically the first stage of the riverfront development. So from the water treatment plant through to about the sorting gap. There are areas in there that are in worse condition than others. For example, from kind of east of the tower to about Williams Avenue is okay. Williams Avenue up to the water plant is in really, really poor shape. Again, there's a little section in there south of Scott Street that's okay. So there's opportunity to, given the type of work that we're doing here, limit the rock placement in some of the areas that are better protected in terms of existing conditions as we work along the waterfront. The contract itself is priced as a unit price contract. So there will be, weigh tickets collected for the rock material that's placed, measurements of the geotech fabric that's put down, and that is all paid on a per ton per square meter cost. So if there are areas that we choose to do less restoration, obviously that would be a reduction in geotech fabric as well as rock, and would be a reduction in overall project cost.
Any follow-up, Councillor Mackey, or are you good?
Thank you. Mr. Rob, if you can give us an estimate on what that would be versus the 1.1 million for the entire job?
Is that possible, Manager Rob?
Not trying to pin you down to an exact number.
Through the chair, thank you. It's hard to pin it down exactly because it does depend. When we priced this out or built the tender, I looked at the entire length. It's about 1.5 kilometers of overall frontage, and then calculated out the volume of rock that we would need in the total area of geotechnical material based on a kind of a uniform application of rock across the entire 1.5 kilometers. So, if we reduce that to, let's say, a kilometer of overall placement, we'd be looking somewhere in the $860,000 range based on some pretty high level estimations.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Firth and Councillor McTaggart. Okay, Councillor McTaggart.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just concerned that we're hitting the reserves awful hard this year. And I'd like this idea of a partial repair, certainly the worst part. So if we started at the water treatment plant and worked our way along, how far would we get for the 811,000, is it?
Manager Rob.
Thank you, through the chair. So at about a kilometer, that gets us from the water plant down to around Front Street, or Front Street and Williams, sorry.
Follow up.
Thank you. And if we should come in under that amount, would could we continue on? Could we extend that?
Manager Rob.
Thank you, through the chair. Certainly. The entire project scope, the permitting that we have through DFO and MNRF are for the entire 1.5 kilometer stretch. So we have approval to do all of that, pending, obviously, the budget component of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Bean and then Councillor Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you and to Manager Rob. I understand why this is before us tonight. It's unfortunate, and it's unfortunate the second tenure was going to leave us over $400,000 of budget shortfall. I guess my question is, it said that work with 95% of the costs funded by provincial flood relief. Now, is that based on the 717 that we had initially approved, or can that be applied to the full amount and the province covers 95% of that cost? Thank you.
Manager Rob.
Thank you, through the chair, and I'll ask Madam Treasurer to correct me where I'm wrong here. The provincial flood money that we applied for after the flood was based on a cost estimate that we had at the time to do this work. The funding that we received from the province is an upset limit, and so we have a maximum amount of money based on what's left in the reserves. And the treasurer told me coming in that we have somewhere around $600,000 left in that pot of flood money.
Follow up.
So that 600,000 might go towards at one point, but we can't increase it anymore. That's what I'm getting at. We can't get any more money from the province for this project.
Through the chair, that is correct. The flood money was capped at a maximum.
Just if I might interject, that amount that Councillor Bean was referring to would be less by the deposit that we're going to recover from the company that chose not to proceed. So that would be lowered by 10% of their bid.
Through the chair, so the recovered bid deposit will apply to the overall costs of going with the other contractor. So we'll have the flood money, we'll have that deposit money, and then the remainder would come out of reserves.
Thank you for that. Councillor Morrison?
Thank you, through the chair. I had a chance to walk down the riverbank today from the sorting gap thing. I definitely see that there's some areas that are pretty good. And after talking to Manager Rob, I think I kind of like the idea of just where we need it most, and then see where we go from there. Just because there are some areas that are fairly well shored up still. So I don't think we need to do the whole section. I just like to see where we can get adding where we need it.
Anyone else? Questions, comments? What I'm hearing from council then is that there's not an appetite to repair the whole thing all at once at this time, but there is an appetite to repair the parts that need it most. Is that what I'm hearing? Would someone please then make an amendment to the motion? Councillor McTaggart?
That we approve a motion to fund from the water treatment plant going along the shore to Williams Avenue. For an amount of estimated, or, okay, up to the spending limit of And then the amount that you gave us, Mr. Rob?
Yeah, through the chair, I think if council wants to look to limit the overall spend, the best thing to do would be to put a number on it as opposed to a location on it. Knowing that, you know, the original project plan is for that entire 1.5 kilometers. Administration will be the on-site people that are directing the work, so we'll have kind of clear indication of what we need to be focusing on. And, you know, like I said, looking at about a kilometer is about 860,000, so that could be a number that.
8.6 you're using?
860.
8.6. So starting at the water treatment plant, as far as $860,000 will take us.
Okay, so we have an amendment to the motion. Actually, I guess we're just going to have a new motion. So let's defeat this motion and go with yours as a new motion. So the motion before you, I'm just going to call the question. Please vote it down if you're not in favor of it. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, so it's defeated. And so the new resolution, oral motion, is to approve repairs as needed starting at
At the water treatment?
the water treatment plant, up to $860,000 worth of repairs. And that's moved by Councillor McTaggart, seconded by Councillor Mackey. Any further discussion? Let's hear what Min says.
Thank you, through the chair. Just a couple of things. We'll need to make sure that that motion also speaks to a bylaw being prepared to authorize the award of the work, and that bylaw 4726 is hereby repealed.
Okay, so we're going to repeal bylaw 4726, and we'll prepare a new bylaw. Councillor Ian?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. I'm just reading the report here, and if you go with that option, administration warned that given the short window, we may not have time to go back to negotiate with both bidders on this, or so we're just going to do the one bid, I guess. But it also should be aware that this may increase the cost per meter. Is that still a concern if we go with this option?
Manager Rob.
Thank you, through the chair. So anytime that you increase or decrease work in a contract over a certain amount, the contractor has the right to basically reprice that work. So there is the risk that the price may go up because of the fact that the scope goes down.
Follow up?
Thank you. As a follow-up through you, Mr. Mayor, to Manager Rob. Is this project so essential it has to be done this year, or can it be put off to 2027? We can put it in the 2027 capital budget process. Thank you.
Manager Rob.
Thank you, through the chair. So we do have the flood money for it. There's no, as far as I know, and again, Madam Treasurer may correct me, there's no deadline to utilize the flood money. However, that is a big component of the overall cost of the project is funded by the flood money. So we definitely want to make sure if we're going to do this work that we're capitalizing on that grant support.
Thank you both for those questions and answers. Further questions? Comment? Councillor Mackey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Manager Rob, have we spoken with the company to see that they can actually get it done this year, or have we not got that far yet?
Manager Rob.
Thank you, through the chair. DFO and MNRF do have a close of the window of time we can work in the water, and that's September 15th. And that's from DFO specifically. They have shown in the past to be flexible in terms of that timing window based on environmental factors. So we are hoping that they will be flexible for us here. However, the contractor does need to secure materials and equipment in order to do this. So we are very, very much on a time crunch to get this work done this year at this stage of the game.
Further questions, comments? Okay, so the resolution before you then is to fund repairs up to $860,000 starting at Williams Avenue, to repeal bylaw 47-26 and to prepare a new bylaw. Councillor Mackey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it should read starting at the water treatment plant and working.
Starting at the water treatment plant? Yep, okay, we got that. Anything else that should be in there? Okay, calling the question on that then. All in favor? That's all carried. No one is opposed. Okay. Thank you for that, councilors. Okay, 12.2. We have a notice of motion from Councillor McTaggart on the RV park development at Legion Park, and the recommendation reads that council receive report AR-26-1134 as information. Can I get a mover and seconder on that, please? Councillor McTaggart and Councillor Morrison. Okay, councilors, questions, comments? Councillor Firth?
Through your worship to administration, I've seen the two options. There's like the large size and the medium size. Is there possibility to do combination at all, or is it just one or the other?
Manager Rob.
Thank you through the chair. Unfortunately, there's not space to do both. There's just like, it's really close, but there's not quite enough space to do a large that would back a medium-sized lot. If we wanted to do like a medium-sized site and a small site, we could definitely look at doing that. There's probably room for that. However, every site is additional servicing, power, utilities, things of that nature. So there is somewhere in there a sweet spot in terms of what sort of sites should or could be developed in that small area of the site that we can actually work within.
Follow up, or are you good? Okay. Councillor Mackey.
Thank you, Worship. My concern here initially is that, well, there was another option that was put forward for that location that was not shot down. It was put over, and we were to get a report back on both options. Haven't seen that yet, and I'm concerned that we're looking to move ahead on one when we haven't totally explored both. Now, having said that, I work with two homeowners in that area, and one of them has gone to all the neighbors, and all of them are against an RV park there. And if they had their druthers, they would have a dog park there versus an RV park. Not looking at the expenses, I'm concerned about that, and having spoken with the mayor of Atikokan, who Atikokan has an RV park in there, only in the last couple of years have they started to not lose money running that RV park. But he did tell me that they do have to refurbish the entire park, and that's going to cost a substantial amount of money that isn't really budgeted for it. So I guess at this point, I'd like to see this put on hold.
The recommendation is to receive the report as information, so if some action was to be taken, council would have to amend that. Further questions, comments? Councillor Firth.
Through your worship, I believe this question is for Mr. Burrows. With either option 1 or option 2, is there a potential layout for a smaller version dog park to also be on site?
Go ahead, Mr. Burrows.
Thank you, and through the chair. There may be some potential, but you'd be limiting one or both of the project's options and size if you were to try to combine the two. Now, obviously, with the dog park, you would be able to access a little bit more into the shoreline buffer area because it is a permitted use in those areas. But that is also subject to the sloping and the grading of that property in that area. So if you were to try to get into flatter areas to be an accessible dog park, obviously that would impede on some of the area for the camper and trailer parking. So even though it's a balance, it's more subtracting from both options if you were to try to combine them.
Anything else, Councillor McTaggart?
Thank you, Worship. I wonder if we have any indication if that sliding hill is used at all in the winter.
Manager Rob.
Through the chair, thank you. I don't necessarily have any hard numbers. I have over the last couple of winters, noted that there's tracks and what appears to be, signs of people sliding on it. I've seen people sliding on it, but I don't have necessarily numbers of kids that are using it.
Just my background of the question is that it may open up more options without that, with the sliding hill gone into something like this. But to Councillor Mackey's comment, this would never proceed without a community engagement first. So this is something that would need to be considered.
Yeah. Councillor Bean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you, maybe to Manager Rob. I'm just curious then, if the recommendation tonight is just to accept this report as information, where do we go from there moving forward with this whole notion of a RV park versus the dog park versus what else other use could be used of that property? Where do we go from here if we just accept it as information tonight? Thank you.
Manager Rob.
Thank you, through the chair. Well, I can speak to the RV park side of things. I'll maybe let my counterpart here to my right speak to the dog park side of things. But in terms of the RV park, at this point in time, this is just information that's out there. If council does wish to look to defer something to, next year's capital budget, for example, then by all means, you can make that resolution tonight to refer. My recommendation is to do a formal survey, to do some formal, at least initial layout of actual sites to see truly what is available or what is optionable for sizes, locations, numbers, things of that nature, to kind of try and narrow the costing down. If that's, council wishes to see that, obviously we have nothing in the capital budget this year. If council wants to see that move to next year's, capital budget deliberations, they could, absolutely put that resolution forward. And on the dog park side of things, I will pass it over to someone from the dog park committee.
Did you want to comment on the dog park?
Thank you, and through the chair. Mike, could you just rephrase your comment or question about the dog park there?
I'm just curious, through the chair, if we just approve this report tonight as information, how do we move forward from here, whether it's with an RV park, a dog park, or some other use of that property? Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, and through the chair again. I believe what administration would probably like to see, and this can be done through a report from administration back to council, but obviously further information or further insight by council would be desirable. But coming forward with the two options to decide what they would like to pursue for that property, understanding the implications of both projects so that administration can have a direction to move forward with one or the other, instead of incurring costs of project initiation on both and feasibility on both, just to see one of them not go anywhere and potentially be wasted incurred costs.
Councilor McTaggart?
I would like to see option 2, direct administration to undertake some work towards this initiative.
Okay. Anything else? So I'll put the recommendation on the floor that council receive this report as information. If you want another option, you have to defeat it and then create another motion.
Can we amend this motion?
You can amend it. Would you like to do that?
Not as information, but as option 2 to direct administration to undertake some work towards this initiative.
So we'll receive this report and undertake option 2.
Yes.
So you're going to move that?
I would do.
I need a seconder on that. Councilor Morrison? So on the amendment, the resolution receives is that we will add option number 2 to this report. So any discussion on the amendment? Councilor Mackey?
Thank you, Your Worship. To Mr. Rob, in looking at halfway down, costs for this work would have not been determined at this time, but it will likely be around 50,000. Is that a number that you're thinking for what Councillor McTaggart is proposing tonight would be the number, or do you have some kind of ballpark number for what we're asking for?
Manager Rob?
Thank you, through the chair. Yes, that's what I'm anticipating, is somewhere around 50,000 to do an initial survey and some feasibility study level site layout.
Follow up, or are you good? Okay, any other questions on the amendment? Councilor Bean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I'm assuming that 50,000 is unbudgeted then, because we'd have to start it now. It's not part of the 2027 budget, it'd be part of 2026. Thank you.
Manager Rob?
Thank you, through the chair. That would be up to council's direction. At this point in time, we have nothing budgeted this year. If, council wants to see that budget in the 2027 capital, then I would suggest that gets amended onto the amendment to the resolution, just to provide some context for administration to move forward.
Councilor Morrison?
Thank you, through the chair. I just wonder if maybe we can start with maybe a little bit of public consultations to see where that public's appetite is for it at this point, just before we spend any money on it, just get a good idea for how everybody feels, and the neighbors and whatnot in the community. And we'll also see what's going to go happen with the point and, with Sunny Cove and whatnot too. That might affect things as well, so. Thank you.
Councilor Mackey?
I just want to say that, well, if we're spending $50,000 here to do this, and going back to what I commented earlier, that there's a dog park option there, that in reality is probably only going to cost $50,000, but we're willing to spend 50 to do some research on a second option without actually deciding which route we want to go there.
Okay, so we have an amendment on the floor. I'm going to call the question on the amendment. If there are no further questions or comments. So on the amendment, which is to undertake option number 2, all in favor? Opposed? Amendment is defeated. So back to the main motion, which is that council receive report AR-26-1134 as information, unless you wish a further amendment. I'm not seeing that, so I'm going to call the question. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, 12.3. This is a resolution in support of green and inclusive community buildings, and the resolution is that council approval report AR-26-1140 will agree with the recommendation of administration to specifically endorse the Fort Francis Sports Solar Project by way of resolution, and that a bylaw be prepared authorizing mayor and clerk to execute the funding agreement with the Government of Canada on behalf of the corporation upon receipt of the completed funding agreement. Could I get a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Behan, Councillor Morrison. Any discussion? Councillor Bernetta.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through the chair to Manager Rob. In your report, you indicate that the funding for this project is $589,762 of federal funds in support of the $1.3 million project. So am I understanding correctly that then the town is on the hook for $720,000? And was that budgeted?
Manager Rob.
Thank you, through the chair. So we also have a provincial grant as well, which is separate and a part of the GICB funding, which I need this resolution specifically for that funding agreement. But that is through IESO, the Save on Energy program, at $483,406. And so the project was budgeted with both of those funding values in mind.
Follow up, or are you good?
No, that's
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Further questions? Councillor Morrison?
To the chair, thanks. So how much does that leave us approximately? And that's in addition to the 589?
Manager Rob?
Stand by. Hold on, I punched something in wrong. I hate using my phone as a calculator. So it'd be about 226,000 that we're.
Follow up?
That's with the chair. So how long do you think, would you estimate that it would take before we realize savings on that $226,000?
Question.
Through the chair, thank you. Right now, it's looking around a year and a half.
Yeah, that was a good question. I just want to comment on that. Yeah, you have to look at the potential future savings because this is the most energy intensive facility that the town owns. So that is something to take into account. Councillor Mackey? Oh, well, you had an excellent question. Any further questions or comments? Okay, I'll call the question on this. All in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, 12.4. This is the new pedestrian crossover construction, and the recommendation reads that council approve the report AR-26-1142 will agree with the recommendation to proceed with option 1 as outlined in the report. Mover and seconder on this one, please. Councillor Firth and Councillor Morrison. Questions, comments, councillors? Councillor Bernetta.
Thank you, Your Worship. Again, to Manager Rob. In your report, you indicate that we could reissue the tender. Sorry, I didn't make myself good notes on this. You're just saying that maybe we could have tendered this when we put out the roadworks tenders, or maybe next year somebody who's bidding on a roadworks tender would take this under consideration. So why did we not tender it with our roadworks for this year?
Manager Rob.
Thank you, through the chair. Simply, we didn't tender any roadworks this year. We had one tender that was late in the season for the Reed Avenue extension. And unfortunately, for this particular project, we really wanted to get those two put together, but we were missing a couple of survey pieces for this project to have the fully complete design. So unfortunately, we couldn't include it in that, and we didn't tender any other roadwork this year.
You good? Follow up? Yep.
So I would like to see then that we go ahead with option 4 and just cancel the project and paint the crosswalk. I know that's what the Legion has continually supported, and it's something that I think would really draw attention to the crosswalk, even without upgrading the crossover signs. Thank you.
Councillor Vian?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Manager Rob. My question was, I've forgotten what it is now. Oh, yeah, if we put it off to 2027 as option 1, that means we couldn't do the crosswalk stenciling painting that Legion wants until after that's done in 2027. That'd be a year away yet.
Manager Rob?
Thank you, through the chair. So those two things are mutually exclusive projects. Okay. We haven't painted because we're planning to do the rebuild. The rebuild will actually physically move the location of the crosswalk slightly. So it doesn't make sense to paint, then basically scrape the paint off the road to then repaint again in the same year. So really either option 1 or cancel entirely, we would proceed with painting. It's something that we're going to have to do every year. Road paint, unfortunately, in winter conditions just doesn't survive the winter. So we're going to have to be doing the stenciling every year. So we've been waiting, like I said, pending this piece of the puzzle, and if depending on what council chooses tonight, we'll proceed with painting or not painting or.
Follow up?
Follow up. I do agree with Councillor Bernetta with option 4. Then if we can paint it without doing the whole other stuff, I want to have that painted this year to coincide with the 100th anniversary of the local Legion and the Legion in general. So thank you.
Okay. Councillor Mackey?
I agree as well. We should get it painted as soon as possible. My question, though, is how much does the paint cost?
Manager Rob?
Through the chair, so we had increased our painting budget in the operating budget this year for stencils as well as paint. So we've ordered the paint. The paint is here. The stencils are en route and should be here shortly. The stencils were quite expensive. but we have them for years into the future. Road paint is about $300 a pail. We had to get a pail of black and a pail of red. So,
Further questions? Councillor Morrison.
Thanks to the chair. Can you just describe a little bit of option number 2 and maybe some of the work that, just for the people listening, that it was going to be done if, if we act as a general contractor?
Manager Robb?
thank you. So this, the initial addition of this item into the capital budget was kind of along the lines of the complaints that we have been receiving over the last number of years on poor lighting and poor signage related to this pedestrian crossover. We've done some work in terms of moving some parking spaces to open the area up so that there is better visibility. However, the signage, the lighting does not comply with the Ontario Traffic Manual. So the goal, ultimate goal of the project was address the complaints, bring it into compliance with the OTMs, refresh the signage, refresh the lighting. To do that, we had to move the sidewalk slightly to the west, a little bit back from the intersection, new curb drops to meet accessibility standards, new signage, flashing beacons, and roadway lighting to, again, meet OTM standards, and then obviously repainting the crosswalks along the road. So there's some curb and gutter work, there's some sidewalk work, there's some new light poles that have to go in, there's some light poles that have to come out, and a little bit of wiring.
Follow up?
Thank you, to chair. Just a follow up. Did we get any grant for this, and what would you foresee as a total if we act as the general contractor?
Manager Robb?
Thank you, through the chair. No, we don't have any grant money for this. This is something that a lot of municipalities are working through right now. So we have a lot of comparators to look at. Our initial cost estimates were $150,000 based on a lot of municipalities that are doing very much the same work. I would anticipate that we're likely in that ballpark for us to go out and act as a general and put it all together.
Further questions, comments? Yes, Councillor B.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just looking at this, and if we go with option 4, as I'm certainly in favor of, it says that approval of the report will agree with the recommendation to proceed with option 4 as outlined further in the report. Do we need an amendment to say and proceed with the commemorative crosswalk, painting of the commemorative crosswalk in 2026?
Yes.
Does that need to be added? Yes.
I'm hearing some desire to cancel the project and proceed with a crosswalk this year. Is that what I'm hearing from? I'm getting nods. Manager Robb?
Thank you, through the chair. As I mentioned, those two projects are mutually exclusive. We've planned to paint the sidewalk all year. We're just waiting until we had this update done to paint. So whether council chooses option number 1 or option number 4, both of them are going to push the work to next year. We'll proceed with painting. That's already all part of the plan.
So
if by all means, if you want to add that to your resolution, that's fine. But
so if council chooses option number 4, you're still going to paint the crosswalk. Councillor Mackey.
Thank you, Worship. Mr. Robb, regulations say if you're putting that up, you need specific structure, specific things that's going to cost $150,000, but there is an existing crosswalk. Does the existing legislation dictate that existing, even though it doesn't comply with the new rules, that is it not grandfathered in, or does something say, even though it's there, you have to change it?
Manager Robb.
thank you, through the chair. What the rules say today is what we are required to do. Doesn't matter if it's grandfathered in or not. There's no exception for grandfathering of old infrastructure.
One more. We're sort of exceeding our limit here.
But what if we don't do anything and just leave it the way it is?
Manager Robb.
What are we doing improper then?
Thank you, through the chair. So I don't think the pedestrian crossover police are going to come and arrest anybody. The risk that we're running is that if something happens at that intersection and we are non-compliant with the OTM guidelines, now we're liable 100% for whatever the situation might have been. So we're carrying additional liability, knowing what we know, that it doesn't comply. if something was to happen there.
Anyone besides Councillor Mackey? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. So if we go back to number one, option one, which is what's recommended by administration, that we cancel it for 2026, we tender the work next year, and maybe we get a better price and more people will perhaps budget, that's still not going to affect the painting of the commemorative crosswalk. That's all I want to make sure, that if we go with option one, we're still working at it to improve it and upgrade it, but we're not in any way deferring the painting of the commemorative crosswalk. Thank you.
Manager Robb.
Thank you through the chair. No, we're not. I have actually one of the guys on my paint crew is chomping at the bit to get started with this. He is very excited about painting this crosswalk.
So regardless of your decision, that crosswalk's going to get painted. Councilors, unless you want to amend the resolution on the floor, I'm going to call the question. Does anyone want to amend the resolution on the floor? Which is proceed with option one. Yes, Councilor Morrison? You want to amend it? Okay, so I'm going to call the question then. All in favor? That's carried. And the crosswalk will get painted this year. Thank you, councilors. Okay, that brings us to 12.5, notice of motion Walker Avenue. Thank you. I'll put this resolution on the floor that council approval report AR-26-1136 be received as information. A mover and seconder, please. Councilor Firth, Councilor Morrison. Before we go into questions and answers, I believe Manager Robb wanted to speak to this.
Yes, thank you through the chair. So one thing that I wanted to just bring up before we start the discussion on this item, another option that unfortunately came to me after the report was already done and on the agenda that I did just want to bring to everyone's attention as to form part of the discussion. Given the fact that the curb on the west side of Walker Avenue is already not really functioning as a curb and gutter is supposed to function, an option that we could do is would be to remove the curb and driveway aprons for 2, probably 3 houses along that stretch. Grade the driveways back, the gravel driveways, add in some recycled asphalt, grade that out, compact it, and just have that tie into the existing asphalt elevation. What the risk with that is that what sort of drainage impacts that have, I don't know at this point in time. The road generally does slope to the catch basins, with obviously localized areas of ponding all along. So that may worsen by doing this. It may stay the same. I doubt it's going to improve. But the reality is there may be worsening on-street ponding as a result of doing that. But it would quick and easily address the driveways. It's not a long-term solution, but it's a short-term solution at a very low cost.
Do you have a cost estimate for that?
Likely we just tackle it through our annual operating budget.
Okay, thank you for that. So there's another option on the floor. Councillor Bien, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you and to Manager Robb. Just for clarification then, the recommendation reads that we're accepting this report as information, and yet the report gives us 4 options, now 5 that you introduced tonight, and that after each one it says that council approval of report AR-26 be received as information. So is that a typo there, or I'm a little confused of what's...
We'd have to amend it. We would have to amend it. You want one of those options?
Through the chair, yes. My apologies. That was the typo. I got caught up in writing the report. And
further, Councilor Morrison.
Thanks to your worship. Yeah, I had some time. Councilor McTaggart and I actually went and visited with the homeowner, and we actually talked with another neighbor there too. And it's a huge safety concern. Talking to the neighbor who's had some surgeries, they're not even able to get a handy van into the driveway to pick them up, and then people are tripping over the curb. So I think if we're able to talk to the homeowners and they're agreeable too, I think it'd be good, at least for the time being, because it's gonna be a pretty big project. It's not something I don't think we can do in the fly here. The road needs to be redone, I think, by looking at it. But at least we can get in the vehicles in and out safely without anybody getting hurt or the vehicles getting damaged, I think that's a good start. At least address it for safety issues right away.
Okay. Councillor,
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I appreciate this option because it does address the immediate future. I'm just wondering then what would be the long-term solution? Where do we go after that?
Manager Rob.
Thank you through the chair. Yeah, I mean, my recommendation, the long-term solution, it is what we do with most roads. It would be a full road reconstruction. The curb is heaving. Likely, that situation is being amplified by the storm sewer underneath of it. But there's a lot of other factors that could be playing into that we just don't know without, basically tearing it all up just for investigative purposes. Going through and just replacing the storm sewer, it's an option, but I don't think even that option is necessarily going to solve the problem because the other infrastructure is also old. Road surface condition is actually quite good. Road grading is actually quite good. But there's some old infrastructure underneath the road. And the benefit of doing a full road reconstruction is that now you have a uniform roadway that will move and age over time as a uniform roadway, as opposed to 2/3 of a uniform roadway and now this area that we've dug out and tried to pack back in to match. It will just never be as good as if we did a full road reconstruction.
Just before we go on our discussion, I'm just going to interject here and put something else on the floor to consider. The homeowner provided some supplementary information over the weekend, which I thought was very well thought out and very logical. And it speaks to what some of you have been asking. We don't know the cause of this. One thing you might want to consider is directing administration to write a report dealing with the questions in the supplementary information. I think there were 6 comments or 6 questions in that report, and have that come back to council before you decide on one of these options. I admit something has to be done, but maybe you want to get to the root of it. So I'm just putting that out in case you want to go that route, and I do have an oral motion prepared if you want to go that route. Oh, there it is. Councillor Mackey?
Thank you, Worship. Mr. Rob, I think you'd indicated that the storm sewer was causing the curbs to lift. Did I get that right?
Through the chair, I don't know if the storm sewer is the cause of the curb heaving. It is directly under the curb and quite shallow. I'm fairly confident to say that it is not helping the situation, but there's a lot of other factors that might be contributing beyond just the fact that the storm sewer is there. And those items are things that, without going and actually starting to dig some holes and things of that nature, like we don't know.
Follow up?
Thank you, Worship. So if you were to go in and do your option 5 scenario, taking the curbs out, would that afford you an opportunity to take a peek to see if the storm sewers are causing that issue? And if that's the case, then what kind of timeline, a year, 2, 5 years down the road, would you be looking at
Manager Rob?
doing that whole street?
Thank you, through the chair. So pulling out the curbs at the driveways, pulling out the driveway aprons, grading out the driveways, it might help shed some light on it. But very likely for the scope of the removals, we would be dealing with, typical granular materials. My guess is that the issue is probably lying underneath the storm sewer. And we just don't need to excavate down that far to find that out with doing the option 5 solution.
Councillor McTaggart?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. First of all, I'd like to see option 5 implemented so we can get the 3 driveways corrected and somewhat easier for access for the 3 residents. And then we can move on to the 6 questions and get some answers to that as for your thinking, Your Worship. A resident pays for an entrance, a private entrance. It's on town property, which is fine. That's the way it works. But if the infrastructure fails, why is it on the homeowner to repair it? Why, it's still on town property. The infrastructure has failed in some manner. Why is it not, they paid for it once, why do they have to pay again? And I'd like an answer to that. That we own the curb, we own the entrance. It's on town property. It's failed. Is there a warranty on it?
Did you want to take a stab at that?
Thank you through the chair. I mean, the bylaw exists for private crossings, which outlines the owner's responsibility, the town's responsibility. And that's what we use to maintain it. We have similar bylaws for sewer, for water, for other infrastructure that's within the road allowance. Each one is a little bit different, a little bit unique. Private crossing is no different.
Yeah.
So I guess if council wants to see that changed, then you could direct administration to review that bylaw.
Yeah, ultimately it's up to council. So we could amend the recommendation to option number 5. I'm hearing that. But also, is there an appetite to delve into this a little bit more and get some answers to the homeowners' questions? Okay, so I'm here. So there'll be 2 resolutions then. So the resolution before you is that council approval of report AR 11, the council approved report AR 1136 with option 5. So that's an amendment. You're going to make that amendment, Councillor McTaggart. I need a seconder on the amendment, Councillor Mackey. So any discussion on the amendment to go with option 5, Councillor Behan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Given the bylaw and what we have already in place, by doing this work, what kind of precedent does it set for elsewhere in town if people say, hey, my driveway sunk too, whose fault is it? We don't, I'm just curious what we're doing now what impact it might have elsewhere down the road with other property owners. Thank you.
Good question. Manager Rob?
Thank you through the chair. So this is not the only place in town where we have curbs that heave. Far from it. And so whatever we decide to do here is, that same solution by nature of precedent will likely be asked at numerous other locations across town. So there's a cost associated with that from the material standpoint, from the manpower standpoint. And we only have so much manpower to get all the work done we have to get done in any given year. So particularly this time of year, we are already feeling the crunch. So this is another project that is going to pull us away from doing other things around town.
Yep. Thank you. Further questions or comments on the amendment? Calling the question on the amendment, all in favor? The amendment carries. Going to the main motion, which now reads that council will approve report AR-26-1136 with option number 5. That's already been moved and seconded by Councillor Firth and Morrison. Are you still okay with that? Any further discussion on the main motion? Calling the question on the main motion, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, I'm going to put an oral motion on the floor that addresses addresses all of the supplementary questions that were provided by the homeowner, and the resolution reads that council refrain from making a final determination that the condition is solely the homeowner's responsibility until relevant evidence has been considered, that the formal municipal complaint of the homeowner on this matter is addressed through the appropriate complaint process independently of council's consideration of the roadway matter, and that council direct administration to bring back a report which, 1, provides outstanding historical inspection, maintenance, repair, and related records in a report to be appropriately reviewed. 2, provides whether additional engineering or geotechnical investigation is warranted to establish the cause of the vertical movement. 3, provides a clear engineering determination regarding whether the roadway, curb, subgrade drainage, or storm sewer infrastructure caused or contributed to the present driveway transition. And 4, clarifies the basis upon which the private crossing bylaw is being applied where the movement of the municipal infrastructure may have caused or contributed to the need for reconstruction. Mover and seconder on that? Councillor Mackey and Councillor Morrison. Any discussion on that? Calling the question. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you, councilors. Oh, 12.6. This is a big one. I'll put this resolution on the floor. The council approval of report AR-26-1137 agree with the recommendation of administration being that council endorses the town investing in the development of industrial electrical infrastructure to support the community's economic development and industrial growth objectives. And the council directs administration to continue to investigate funding opportunities, including long-term debt financing to support this project. And that council directs administration to begin developing the required agreements with the Fort Frances Power Corporation for scoping, siting, operation, maintenance, and financing of the development in accordance with applicable regulations. And that council directs administration to continue to bring updates to council with Fort Frances Power Corporation on the development of this key community building infrastructure. I need a mover and seconder for this one. Councillor Firth, Councillor Behan. Now, just before we go to discussion, I do want to make a comment. In terms of this agenda, this is probably the single most important economic item on the agenda. In terms of this term of council, I would say that this report is the single most important report that we've had during this term of council. In fact, I would go so far as to say in several terms of council. So with that, I'll open the floor for discussion. Councillors? Councillor Brunetta.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think we've been waiting for this motion for some time. We were aware of the intent of the Power Corp to pursue a microgrid project, and I think this falls in line with that. I guess I just have a question, and I will direct it to Manager Rob in terms of economic development. Have we actually had a developer come forward to the municipality and say, well, I wanted to develop in your community, but you don't have enough power?
Manager Rob.
Thank you, through the chair. That I'm aware of, we haven't had a developer say that. I have had conversations with a few different developers that say, this is what I need for power. Can you supply it?
And we're not able to at this time, is that?
At this time, the answer is no, with the asterisks, we're working on it.
Yeah, I'll just jump in on this. Economically, there's a number of projects in the works. There's the Highbury biomass project, which is a very high-tech project that's continuing along. There's potentially another biomass project that turns biomass directly into electricity. The Highbury project, as you know, will turn it into diesel fuel or aviation fuel. There's the First Light solar farm, which is coming. There's also potentially a First Light battery storage area. Manager Rob is correct. Word gets out that there is potential power development here. We're trying to position Fort Frances as a green energy center. And there have been inquiries about how much power is available and what will be available. I sit on the Fort Frances Power Corporation board, and right now, Fort Frances Power Corporation can't handle any of that. We don't have the high voltage lines. We don't have the necessary transformers. Fort Frances is on the cusp of some serious economic development we've been looking for before the collapse of the mill. So this is our chance. And what we have in front of you, the best time to have done this would have been a year or two ago, but the second best time is right now. So let's not miss this boat. Councilors?
A follow-up.
Question?
Sorry, a follow-up?
Yes, of course.
Sorry, thank you. Also, in your report, you indicate that it would be between $6 to $9 million, which would be the town's investment, and we could negotiate a payback from the Power Corp for some or all of it, or we could gift the asset to the Power Corp. So I'm just thinking this through. So we borrow the money, we build the asset, then we gift it to the Power Corp. So how is the debt paid off? Is it through taxes, or how would that work?
Manager Rob?
Thank you through the chair. And I will again defer to Madam Treasurer if I get anything wrong. But there are some options here. The town could invest in this as an economic development project and just a straight investment where we would utilize taxation to pay for that investment in the community. We could work with Power Corporation on some sort of repayment for it, leverage grants, things of that nature, which we are starting to try to do some of those things to offset the costs of it. We have certain powers and abilities as a municipality to borrow money, to leverage grants, to support this project. Power Corp has different opportunities as a corporation to leverage grants, to borrow money, to support this. So we've really been looking over the last little bit at who has better opportunities and better access to help put the funding together, the model together that will support this going forward. Still working on that at this point in time. Those are still things that we need to finish nailing down. And that would be a future report back to council, but there are a number of options that we could look at going forward.
I'll also add a little bit to that. Power Corp will be charging different rates for industrial customers, and the more customers we have and the more power that we funnel through the Power Corporation, that could actually drive down rates for residential customers. So this is going to be a win-win for the town of Fort Francis. Everything Manager Rob says is correct. Power Corporation will be recovering some of it through rates. Further comments? I'll go to the others first, and I'll come back to you. Anyone else have questions or comments? And I'll go back to Councillor Burnett. Councillor McTaggart?
This is a huge investment for this municipality. And I think there's opportunities that come with it, as the mayor has alluded to. 3 possible projects that are out there. One is certainly well underway. I think there's a long lead time, as indicated, on getting transformers of this type and other work that needs to be done. So the importance of the decision and the speed with which you make it is important. How much debt do you think the municipality will have to take on in order to advance the right transformer for the project?
That's a difficult question, but do you want to take a stab at it?
Certainly, thank you, through the chair. I mean, I think given the scope of the project that we're talking about, it will all be debt. Whether it's our debt or Power Corp's debt or a combination thereof. I just don't see, and Don and I have talked about this numerous times, like I just don't see another way forward. Like I said, there are some grant opportunities out there, not a lot. But I think, somewhere in that $6 to $9 million is probably where we are landing for the municipality.
Again, I'll just jump in a little bit. Power Corporation is also applying for grants and is being successful with some grants, so there will be some grants coming through them as well. Go ahead, Councillor. You had a second follow-up?
So we do that through debenture, I'm assuming?
I guess that would be for Madam Treasurer.
Thank you, through the chair. We haven't actually researched a lot of next steps, right? Because it's just a preliminary report.
Just the background to that question is that if it's debenture, then that has an impact on budgeting going ahead and the impact on ratepayers. The savings in electrical rates may offset some of that with our residents. I just would like to know all the implications of where we're going with. I'm excited by it. I think it's the key to our future. I just want to make sure that we go in eyes wide open and know what we're doing.
No, that's very prudent, Councillor McTaggart, but some of your questions will be answered by what's before you now. This is very preliminary, so some of the research has to be done, and that'll come back to council. Council's not committing to anything financial with this, just giving administration permission to go ahead and start the preliminary instructions. Councillor Bernetta?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to just give some insight to council around debt, taking on debt. Our municipality is one of the few in the province that does not have debt. And we are very fortunate that, you know, it keeps your taxes down. And the problem, though, is that many of our delegations that we presented to ministers have met with, we were met with, oh, you don't have any debt? You don't need the money. So having debt is not a bad thing in terms of, you know, having access to other avenues of funding. So I just want you to keep that in mind when this question comes again. Again, I'm very supportive of this. I think it's a great way to expand our economic base, our industrial base. So I would encourage you to really support this. Thanks.
Thank you. Anything else? Calling the question. All in favor? It's carried unanimously. And thanks to Manager Rob for an excellent report. Brings us to item number 13, bylaws. Recommendation that I'll put on the floor reads, the following bylaws be introduced and read, finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the corporate seal, and become law forthwith. There are 6 of them. Bylaw 52-26, which is the procedural bylaw. Bylaw 53-26, that's the Connecting Links Contribution Agreement. Bylaw 54-24, this is to award tender 2026-OF-07. Bylaw 55-26, this is the Memorandum of Understanding with the Fort Frances Public Library Board. Bylaw 56-26 is a letter of understanding with the Fort Frances Kiwanis Club. And bylaw 57-26 is to appoint Marcel Michaels as interim fire chief. Can I get a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Behan and Councillor Bernetta. Any discussion? Councillor Mackey?
Thank you, Worship. My question is in regards to bylaw 5626, in regards to Sunny Cove and the establishing of the Sunny Cove Committee. Is that not defunct now?
I was not at the last meeting when Councillor Manager Burrows.
Thank you, and through the chair, and I do apologize. I think this might be the previous rendition of the letter of understanding, but as part of the committee suspending for the time period, we had requested council to amend this letter of understanding to include provisions for where the committee had suspended. So with the committee being suspended, this is to ensure that if there is the potential that it does pick up in the future, this letter of understanding would be followed.
Okay. Are you good with that? Okay. Anything else? Okay, so you'll be voting, the 5526 one's been pulled. Vote on that separately. So we're voting on the other 5. Looking for further discussion, seeing none, calling the question, all in favor? It's carried. No one was opposed. Okay, so I have a recommendation that the following bylaw be introduced, read, and finally passed, signed by the mayor clerk, sealed with the corporate seal, and become law forthwith, and that is bylaw 56-26, the LOU with the Fort Frances Kiwanis Club. Can I get a mover and seconder on that, please? Councillor Behan, Councillor McTaggart. Any further discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, that brings us to item 14, notice of motion. Councilor Morrison had a notice of motion, but I believe you wanted to withdraw that for now?
Your worship, yeah, I got a couple tweaks I want to make
Okay,
to it. Thanks.
so that notice of motion is withdrawn. So that brings us to item number 15. Thank you. That council now meet in camera in order to address a matter pertaining to Kircher versus the Town of Fort Francis update. This falls under 239-2E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Behan, Councillor McTaggart. All in favor? It's carried. No one was opposed. For folks listening at home, we are now going to proceed into closed session. Once we're completed with our closed session, we'll return to open session and report. Do I hear collusion down there? All right, we're back in open session. Council met in closed session to deal with 2 items, and coming out of closed session, we have 2 resolutions. First resolution that I'll put on the floor is that council receive and accept report AR-26-1144 titled Kirchner versus the Town of Fort Francis update for informational purposes only. Could I get a mover and seconder on that, please? Councilor Bernetta and Councilor Mackey. Calling the question, all in favor? It's carried. Anyone opposed? Should have asked if you were opposed before I said it was carried, but there were enough of you. And then finally, recommendation that council approve the closed meeting minutes of July 13, 2026 as presented. Mover and seconder, Councilor Behan, Councilor Bernetta. Calling the question, all in favor? It's carried. Okay, that brings us to the confirmatory bylaw. I can read it off of here. A recommendation reads that bylaw 58-26 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the corporation of the Town of Fort Francis be introduced, read, and finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with the corporate seal, and become law forthwith. Mover and seconder on that, please. Councilor Mackey and Councilor Behan. All in favor? Carried. And finally, that having reached the hour of 6:55, this meeting of the Council of the Town of Fort Francis be now closed. Councilor McTaggart and Councilor Mackey. All in favor? Thank you very much, councilors.